Hey guys, a bit more of an informal video, a bit about me, a bit about my story and how I ended up running a e-commerce Google Ads marketing agency, although we do have some non-Google clients and some non-e-commerce clients. For the most part, I like to stick to one thing and do it really well, but I thought it'd be of interest to some people. You know, I talk a lot about Google Ads, but I don't talk too much about the agency side or any of my background because, so my background, so I was born on the Gold Coast, Australia. My dad is Greek, my mum is Australian. And when I say my dad is Greek, my dad is Greek. He is first generation here. He came here really just before I was born, 2 years before, I believe in 1988. I was born in 1990. We then moved back to Greece not long after I was born. And I spent many awesome years. I really enjoyed living in the village in Greece, in a little village called Giannaves in Corfu, the island, which is the most northwesterly part of Greece, I'm wanting to say. Northwesterly, probably, yeah, it would be. Oh, sorry, there is a few islands that are above it that are tiny that are also Greece, but one of the most northern westerly points. It's not far from mainland Greece, not far from Albania, not far from Italy. And it was just an interesting upbringing there, very simple. Greece economically is not as advanced as, say, Australia. Things are a little bit harder day to day than they are in Australia. Australia's a very lucky country, very prosperous, and it's got a bit of the English system where things really work well, which is good in some aspects, bad in the other. But then, you know, came and did my primary school education here on the Gold Coast, did high school here. Then I went on to university. Probably another video on, you know, how useful university is. At least in Australia, I found that I had quite little use really in university, and while some of my success I would attribute to going there, I think a lot of it I probably could have skipped. I did 5 years at university, so that's 5 years I could have been doing something probably a lot more productive, but it was part of my journey. For some people, I think it's great. For most people, it's probably not that great, especially now with how expensive it's become. With student loans, even in Australia, we have a HEC system, which is okay. You know, it is okay, and you can get to university, but then it goes on your record as a loan, and it takes a long time to pay back. I'm lucky enough I've paid all of mine back because I just wanted that headache out of the road. And yeah, I studied, so what did I study? I studied law. So I did a Bachelor of Laws and a Bachelor of International Business. Back when I did law, you could only do a double degree, which added to the loan amount impressively. I did exchange, which was actually awesome. I did it at Florida State University in the USA. And had to have a lot of good memories and good connections and stuff from university, but realistically, you know, I found it very easy to begin with. I didn't find it overly practical for the most part. I found it to be quite archaic, and there's much easier ways to learn, and it's just too slow at disseminating knowledge. Like, it's just not, it's not efficient anymore. It's lagged, and the cost benefit is not there for most people. I don't want to rant and put down university at all. You know, there's some great universities doing some great stuff, but for me, and part of what I'm about is, like, I always wanted a lifestyle where I wasn't caged and chained to a desk with a boss I didn't like. Or even if I did like the boss, I like freedom. Not to say that, you know, I need to do anything fancy. I've recently had a son, so I like to spend time with my wife and my son, and I don't want to have someone telling me I can and can't do things. So that's the life I always wanted to build. And obviously I want to make good money, and that's part of it, but it's not the main part for me. The main part for me has always been freedom, because I see a lot of people with a lot more money than me, and I go, I would not trade their life for mine any day. And so, you know, I finished university and I was working from, I think, the age of 18 at a store called BCF. I worked much younger. I had my dad, who ran a painting business. He got me to work from a very young age, and he instilled a very good work ethic in me and into my siblings, where he basically hated laziness and hated anyone that was lazy. And he taught you to work hard, because realistically, especially as, you know, immigrants here, you know, we're looked down upon, but we're kind of starting at a few steps below a lot of people. And so you have to offset that with hard work. It's the only way. if you don't work hard when you come to a new place, well, firstly, you know, it's not fair on the people that have accepted you in. And a big part of me is about fairness. And I don't like taking things for free. And I think a lot of migrants have that mentality of, yes, we should respect it. And then you have some other ones that don't. And I mean, I can't relate to that at all, but I also was brought up to, you know, work like a dog, which my dad always did. Another lesson there further down in my story. But he instilled this great work ethic. I worked hard in as many things as I could. I do think though that I'm not as hardworking as he was. I think I have, and this could just be up in here, but I think I am a little bit lazier than him, and I do like to enjoy myself. But then I think I'm comparing myself to myself, and I'm probably not that lazy compared to most people. I think most people will look at what I do and go, wow, he works very hard. But in my head, I can always work harder. And while that has helped me a lot to get to this point, I think it's kind of it's hit the point where it's no longer so useful. So it's something I need to work on internally to improve. But, you know, I'm working at a boating, camping, fishing store. So getting back to my story. And I'm working in retail. So it's a retail sales job. I'm doing a bunch of different tasks. I think people like me there because I was willing to do anything, right? I'd also worked other retail jobs too. I'd worked in a clothing store, in a store that sold like a convenience store, I guess you would call it. I worked at a kebab shop. I worked delivering furniture for another company. More story there. I ended up working at their office. And then, so I'm working at BCF. I worked there pretty much the entire time through uni. People like me. I'm happy to do any job. I'm willing to work hard. I'm always thinking about ideas though. I'm saying, okay, cool. Look, how does this shop work? How much money do they make? How much do they make per square meter? How much does it cost to run the place? All these things are always running through my head wherever I go, even from a young age. And I'm also reading about, you know, like Warren Buffett and business. And I am involved in it a little bit at university, not so much, but it's kind of got me started in thinking about these things. And I had the opportunity while I was working there, and I'd finished university. I'd tried working in a few law firms, like doing what's called a clerkship or a clerkship. And I also worked at a Big Four accounting firm doing a vacation job there. And I'm gonna be honest, I hated all of them. All of those things, I felt fake. I felt like I was just sitting at this desk and going, this isn't me, this can't be me. I'm commuting 3 hours a day, 2-3 hours a day. This is horrible. I don't enjoy this. Anyway, the head office for the business that I was working at had advertised the job. I applied, never heard back, right? I was like a bit disappointed. I kept applying because I was like, what's going on? Like, I feel like I have some good experience for this role. Anyway, eventually I called one of the HR people on the job advertisement on the internet and said, hey, I've applied for this. I'm just wanting to hear back. And if there's any feedback, you know, like what could I do to make my application better? And they said, oh, wow, who are you? Oh, we must have misplaced your application or something. I can't remember what they said anyway. They said, oh, you seem like a good applicant. Can you come up for an interview? And I was like, all right, cool. I came up, I got a job straight away there. And then I started working at this head office. And to be honest, those were some of the best years of my life. I really enjoyed that job. It was for an assistant category manager or assistant buyer. I remember, I think my starting salary was like 38 grand a year or something like that. Quickly jumped to 45, 50, whatever. And I was constantly getting promoted and getting full category management positions, and eventually being sent to China and going to like really big meetings for this. You know, this was an ASX listed business. So on the stock exchange, you know, multi-billion-dollar business, and you've got little 23-year-old Nick controlling all these bits and pieces. And then as I got older, obviously was given more responsibility, went to multiple times to China, flown all over Australia. Like it was a fun job, and basically it was responsible for sourcing products. And that's where my e-commerce background started, because this is way back. We're talking like 10 years ago plus. They were doing e-commerce, this business, but they were doing very poorly. Like if I compare now to what like small, nimble e-commerce businesses can do, it was like, it's just so different now what these businesses can do, and so amazing. And like back then, you've got this company, this mammoth company with so many resources and just not able to do it. It was just funny. And anyway, I think they still struggle with it, to be honest. But you know, the product bug and going to China and sourcing product really got me. And I started my own online store slowly, selling products on there, very similar to products that I had been sourcing, and tried to use contacts there and tried drop shipping stuff as well, had some drop shipping stores as well. And it was just a really fun kind of side hustle And eventually I left that job and I went to another very similar job at another company, did that for not long, didn't like it. And then again, went to another one, hoping, I would find this thing. But then I was like, you know what? I think I can do some of this on my own. And what happened was, like, I sold an e-commerce business. I think it was for like $40,000 at the time. And then I used that money plus some savings, plus I then sort of worked part-time with my dad painting. And a lot of people looked down on that, which was funny. Because I was still making reasonable money at the time, and the job I left was like a very high income job that I'd left. It was a good 6-figure job, and basically I was taking on clients as well at the time. So I really enjoyed the Google side, which kind of came about through an analyst position I had there, a finance buying and marketing analyst. So I was exposed to lots of Google Analytics, and even the job I was talking about before had a lot of exposure and a lot of work with the marketing team. So there was a lot of heavy marketing work there. I mean, I did some marketing subjects at university. They weren't very helpful. And basically from there, I'm taking on clients. I'm helping in a Facebook group, a paid group, where I was helping as being the Google Ads guy there, because Google was the main traffic source for a lot of my stores. I also did a lot of Facebook ads, took Facebook ads clients at that point as well. But, fast forward and been doing that for, part-time, 8 years, full-time, 6.5 years, I think, now full-time, something like that. Somewhere there. It's hard to remember the exact time frame for when I changed this stuff, but many, many years. I mean, in Google now, well over 8 years, Google Analytics and stuff over 10 years experience in that. And what the journey along was interesting. There's been like ups, downs, but really I don't have a lot of downs in terms of, basically I was able to grow my income every single year slowly. I'm very risk averse though. So I'm not a high risk person. I never have been. I have invested in shares and stuff like that and made some money, lost some money, crypto, whatever. But I've been very, very conservative, to my detriment probably, I would say. And while, a lot of investments I made, like I bought a house young, that's made me a lot of money. All these random little things that have accumulated to get me to where I am. But I think the number one thing for me is I persevere and I push through constantly. I keep things very, very simple, but I've also built a business to suit the lifestyle I want. And that to me is more important than any dollar amount. But the agency lifestyle, freelancer agency, that sort of lifestyle, I think suits a lot of people, and they don't consider it, particularly those in the e-commerce space, because e-commerce is a bit sexier. It is a bit more scalable as well. But services, to start, you could offer really any service, and it's free to get started, a lot of them. It takes a bit of upfront work and a bit of grind, but you can push through and do really, really well. You can get to 6 figures very quickly. You can get to high 6 figures relatively quickly as well, I would say, compared to a lot of things. Like in terms of profit, you can do 6-figure profits quite easily in it. And if you enjoy working with people and you enjoy a variety of tasks, it's quite good. And yeah, if people want to hear more about agency stuff, I have put it out in the past before. It did do reasonably well. It is something that, I will do more of. Because the Google stuff sometimes can just get a little bit boring to put content out about that constantly. And this just breaks it up for me. But that's a little bit about my journey, and like now where I'm at is, got a very, very healthy lifestyle and income, high 6 figures, and gunning for 7 figures, particularly of profit, per year we're talking now. Over the years, generated with the agency, multiple 7 figures, of revenue and profit, which is amazing. For most of the time it's been just me, a few contractors here and there, a few employees here and there. Now I've got my sister, my wife, so there's 3 of us working together. A few contractors doing a few bits and pieces, but really try and keep profit as high as possible. Try and keep results for clients high as possible, not have too many clients so we can do a good job on them, and that we don't have to manage too many clients. We try and work with people that are easy to work with. But overall, the reason I've gone down the e-commerce route was, well, one, I always enjoyed it, was the product's background. My strengths are in product. Went the Google background because I genuinely think it's quickest, easiest way to get clients results. It's consistent. It's not a huge workload on me most of the time and my team. And so it's easier to kind of replicate as well and do the same process over and over. So from a business point of view, I think a PPC or Google agency is much, much better than a Facebook or TikTok or any other heavily driven creative marketing agency, because just that creative component is so much more work for delivering, in essence, a very similar result. What clients want is they want more sales. They don't care how they get them. Like realistically, they don't care how they get them. So whether you're doing 100 hours, 1,000 hours, 1 hour, they're getting a result. They don't care how long it took you. Why not do one that's going to favor a better lifestyle for you? Some people don't like it. Some people don't like Google. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You've got to choose something that gels with you. Google gels with me. E-commerce gels with me. The reason I like e-commerce over lead gen. Now, while I have done lead gen in the past, and lead gen's fine, and I know there's a lot of successful people in lead gen, a lead does not equal a sale. So in e-commerce, it's quite easy most of the time to show, hey, the ads led to X amount of sales, X amount of dollars. This was your return. Leads is a lot harder. I personally think it's much, much harder. And so it's also harder to sell then. It's harder to keep clients for longer, I find, and people chop and change more frequently. Also, e-commerce businesses need ads. If they don't have ads, their business dries up. Most lead gen companies, most companies wanting lead gens, plumbers, electricians, roofers, whatever it is, dentists, lawyers. These businesses existed before the internet. They will exist after the internet, and like, they don't need leads, a lot of them. You're just amplifying whatever they do. They're not like an e-commerce business. And so that's why I've kind of stuck to it. Wrong or right, I'm in a lot of masterminds and this and that go, you know, e-commerce is harder to get clients. Yes, it's probably harder to find clients. That's why you put good content out, they'll come to you. You can run ads, you can do a lot of things to get clients. You can hustle, go out to warehouses and stuff. That's where most of the e-commerce businesses are. Where you see warehouses, that's where e-commerce companies are based. It is harder than finding, you know, a roofer's number on the internet or their email and hitting them up, right? It's definitely harder, but I think it's better. I try to tailor most of my agreements to the percent of sales or percent of ad spend or percent-based agreements so that we can scale together and incentivize both parties to work longer term. And that's really my approach to it. I like to keep things nice and simple. And in terms of where I'm going, I'm wanting to grow the agency, potentially add in some bolt-on services over time, potentially work on some e-commerce projects. The sky's the limit, really. I'm trying to really just build on the personal brand again, get some content out there, improving my lead gen system at the moment is a big one, because I sort of took my foot off the pedal with lead gen for quite a while, which is fine because I get a lot of referrals, and referrals are a very good way to build a business. Because if you think about a lot of businesses that were around before the internet, it was all referral based. Referral still works. You can build a good business around referrals. If you aren't getting referrals, you're probably not doing a very good job, or you're not building a relationship well enough. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It is a bit different to what I normally do. And if you've enjoyed it, you want to see more of this sort of stuff, I will keep putting it out there. But thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.